I think we have a great minority population in Pennsylvania that we are not reaching out to. I think that we have some great universities, and the students are just amazing. And when you have the quality of the universities, there's no state who has the quality of universities that we have here in Pennsylvania, that we aren't doing enough to attract the minorities. I remember last year at a hearing, I think it was DCNR, who told me they went to Alabama to recruit minorities. And I'm like, what are you doing here with our universities to make sure, let's say we don't have minorities taking up certain job descriptions that we have in the state, forestry, for instance. Then why are we not encouraging minorities to take those kind of classes at college and the opportunities? Our state payroll system, our benefits are great. There's no reason we shouldn't be recruiting our own individuals here in Pennsylvania for those jobs. It's nothing against any other state, but I love taking care of our people in Pennsylvania since we're using Pennsylvania tax dollars to do so.
And I agree, and not only HBCUs, but there are lots of colleges and universities in Pennsylvania with very diverse student populations, and we certainly don't want to miss out on students like myself.
A real concern. I won't go into it, but I was informed here in the General Assembly we had a company who was providing software that was a Russian company. Those things bother me. Are we checking out every one of our contractors, and I mean every one of our contractors, whether they are foreign-owned or subsidiary of a foreign company, before we hire them? Because I don't believe, this is my opinion, we should never hire a company from a foreign company that is, a foreign company that's owned by some other country. Are we checking that out, and what are we doing about that? Because to me, that goes to cybersecurity again.
I'm not familiar with the company, but in our previous hearing last year, there was a company about a question about a very specific antivirus solution, and we do not use that solution.
Okay.
Now, there are other companies that I think are offering some sorts of proposals. We have not engaged with those companies.
But I think also to your question too, in relation to all of this, is that some of the things that we're introducing are additional policy language in regards to, and it kind of goes to the earlier question. For instance, there's many contracts with a lot of different vendors or companies. Threats, cybersecurity threats, is dynamic. So something could be safe today, and tomorrow there's a threat that we didn't know about the day before. We need to have the flexibility to take activity, and so having the appropriate policy language in place is something that we're looking at putting in place as a next step.
Sure. I mean, there could be an American company today and bought tomorrow by a Russian company or whoever. And I think those are things that we need to, for cybersecurity reasons, need to stay on top of day in and day out. It's kind of a 24/7 day a week job.
Because I think you have existing contracts, right? So there's a contract in place with a certain provider or a vendor, and so there needs to be a mechanism. If and when there's a contract, there needs to be certain policy language to accommodate those types of threats.
Yeah, I think that any company, when we sign consulting companies, that anytime if they decide to sell the company to a foreign company, that contract is terminated. And because you have a contract, and I'll give you an example, not on the foreign side of things, and this is one of the things that bothers me. I think we spend too much on IT in Pennsylvania. I think we have 1,000 employees. I think John or Eric, you mentioned it. We have 1,000 employees working in IT here on the state payroll. That's great. But the problem I have is the amount of money we're spending on consultants. To me, when I hired a company to do a computer program, this is before I was here, the company, I told them, is I want my people to be able to do the program when it's done. It's my program, not yours. And I don't think we're doing enough of that. When I see what we're spending in every department every year, I'll use corrections. They were just here today. What are we changing that we spend $23 million in corrections on a year? $23 million on IT for corrections. There's a program there. To me, there should be a lull in there. That contract should be good for 5 years before I need to update it, unless we in the General Assembly or the administration decide that we need to do something new. And it just seems to me like it's like the person you take into your house to help them out for a period of time when maybe they're homeless and they never move out. We have state employees that are going into these companies that are leaving here, going to work for the IT consultants, and they're living in our departments. They've never left. You know, and I'm not picking on any one or saying any of them are corrupt or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I just feel that we aren't getting the bang for the buck and we're spending more money on it when we have very bright state employees who could probably do a better job of keeping things up to date than what we are getting from our consultants. I know that I went into the wrong career. I think I should be an IT consultant after seeing the amount of money we pay a year in that. I know, Secretary, you're new and everything else, and I think you guys have made great progress. I compliment the governor on his merging the departments together, because I think that will be success. There's problems anytime you do those kind of things, as you talked about earlier, Secretary. But I think there's a lot of savings that can still be had. I just, like I said, I'm very concerned. There is money being spent there that could be spent on a lot of other more needy issues in Pennsylvania. I welcome a response if you want.
We agree 100%. In fact, we're looking at each other kind of chuckling behind the scenes here. That's one of the areas that we're concentrating on now. It's, and we'll be happy to update you on our progress as we go through this. Staff augmentation was new to me when I joined the Liquor Control Board, and I saw that line item in the budget, and it became a very interesting attack area for reducing the budget. And we were able to do that at the Liquor Control Board, and I know we have the opportunity to do it here. So John and I have been talking about it. We actually just 2 days ago or yesterday had sat down with a game plan of how we're going to reduce some of the consulting costs and staff augmentation this year and years moving forward. So we're very much on board with what you're saying, and we think there are real dollars there to be saved. So stay tuned.